Okay, so we've now got some gloss coat on here. What I've done is I've used some of the Humbrol clear gloss, or the gloss coats, mixed with the enamel thinners, and I've done 3 coats on there just with the airbrush, and that's giving quite a nice shiny sort of look. What is annoying is it catching the light. The 2 darker tone greys really do not show up so very well, even when looking at it in certain lights and reflections. I'm hoping maybe with a matte coat on there it will make it a bit more obvious. But now it's time for the decals. Of course, if we'd actually done for the whole proper kit, would have actually done all of the digital camo using the decals, which we're not. We're just going to be literally using this decal sheet just for the main markings, and actually what I'll be doing is using the Foxbot scheme, just because I know for sure that that number is going to relate to that, because it's 2 different camo schemes on there. So you don't want to be using the numbers for that one, for this one. But the good thing is this decal sheet does actually have all the number options in 3 different fonts that it can be used in. So start off, let's get the roundels on the wings, cut those out and get them stuck on. It's important to try to roll it and not wipe it, because if you wipe you can move the decal around.
Decals went down quite nice and easy. No point, giving you an hour of watching me putting decals on. So those were the ones that were for the markings. Although they went down well, I wouldn't have fancied tackling the big sheet to do the digital camo. Let's go have a look at the cockpit actually. So replaced the seat with a resin aftermarket item, and I've got to say I think that was well worth it. If you look at the comparison between the 2 seats, it really is night and day on that one. One is just really basic, and the other one quite a lot of, and for 70-second detail, quite a lot of detail in there. So pleased with that one. It was just a case of sort of making it a dark grey, dry brushing with a metallic to pick out the raised edges, and then the harnesses as well. Didn't really take too long, so I'm really pleased with the results for that. I'm sure detail painters would really spend a lot longer on there and pick out a lot more. However, just for how basic the cockpit was, I'm pretty pleased with that one, and definitely an upgrade over the seat. In fact, the seat is kind of indicative to how basic, it makes you think about how basic some of the upper parts were. That's how simple the seat's going to be. You can sort of think, well, other places it is going to be a bit of an older kit and not quite the finesse of what you would hope to expect. Now the decals are on as well, we want to get the weathering on. I decided to go for not a full-on weather, but not a crisp and clean one, because I'm trying to portray it whilst actually during the Battle of Kyiv, where the Ghost of Kiev, was going out on even if it was multiple pilots, was basically heading back, refueled, rearmed, out again. So not completely covered in filth, which is the Flory model is perfect for this one. So I use the dark dirt. You paint it on, literally slap it all over, and then you wipe it off. If you wipe it off with a bit of damp kitchen roll whilst it's still wet, you really only get it left in the panel line, so it's a nice panel line wash. If you leave it to dry and use a dry or only slightly dampened kitchen towel, it's going to leave a lot more of it on the surface as well, so you're going to act more like a filter. I tried to go for a bit of an in-between one on that one, so it kind of kept it not clean, but there's definitely a used, whilst at the same time getting into the panel lines to highlight the panel lines, and I think that worked quite well. In hindsight, I wish I had put a couple of grams of lead shot in the nose just to give it that peace of mind. It literally just needs the lightest of taps, and then it'll go to be a tail sitter. It really is, the centre of gravity is right on those rear landing wheels. But once the exhaust nozzles go on, it all really does come together, and it actually does look the part. I would say pleased with it. I'm not really massively pleased. I think the biggest downfall isn't so much in the kit, which isn't the greatest of kits, admittedly, but is actually, for me, and it might be the mix that I got, is of the paints. I discussed before, it took me quite a few goes to try to work out which order the paint should go in. and one of the darker ones should have been lighter and one of the lighter ones should be darker. And when you actually look at reference photos, it is actually quite obvious that the two light ones, there really should be a much more even grading right the way through. It's not two lights and two darks. It really should step through there. So I really should have lightened, the darker one and darkened the lighter one a bit more to really make it stand out. And of course, once the wash went on there and the gloss and those sort of things, the two darker ones really do look the same, which is disappointing. It's a lesson learnt. Would I do this kit again? Probably not, and I think that shows in the final model. Looks good on the shelf, it just seems to be missing something. I definitely learnt skills with the mask set. If I was to do digital camo again, and I would do it, but I would do it on a larger scale, a 48th scale, and actually probably go for which I think looks a lot nicer anyway, the Ukrainian colours, which is the bluey purpley colours, and probably not use the ICM paints. And I do feel so it was let down by that paint set. However, you've also got to say, user error. I did see that it wasn't quite right. I didn't spend enough time looking at the reference photos to get it to the right shades. However, you're just accepting when it comes from ICM and say this is the paints you need for this kit, and they've marketed it together, these are the paints for this kit. You would expect them to have done a bit more of the hard work on there to make sure that matches. You do like this format with pictures, with voiceover, let me know, drop me a note in the comments, but please do like, subscribe, all of those usual things. It really does make a difference, and it really does pick my mojo up a bit when I see that people actually want to see what I'm putting out there.